remember that back at the beginning of February, I had mentioned that for each month this year, I was going to be spending some time with the ethical practices of yoga, the yamas and niyamas, which are really the foundations of yoga philosophy. So for the month of February, I was focused on the Niyama of Santosha, which means contentment. And I don't think I could possibly have chosen a better theme for this month. And I didn't realize it necessarily in the month how much contentment was really a big part of what was happening for me. But a couple days ago, I sat down to reflect about this, to reflect on how the month went. And to be honest, there was a lot going on, and I would kind of go week by week and check in. I really didn't get a chance to do that a whole ton. So when I looked back across the whole month and started applying a lot of the concepts of contentment to what was happening for me, I really realized how much I needed it. So another thing I realized was that I'm really not all that content in most areas of my life right now. I'm in the process of building and rebuilding and creating and letting things go and that kind of stuff. So, and I don't think it's inherently bad to be doing. Well, it's not bad. It's a great thing to be doing a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. But what I found was that it's a really slippery slope to go from building and creating and trying to reach goals and all that kind of thing, letting it slip into striving and seeking. So, that was a big thing that was really prevalent this month. I moved from excited to be doing this, glad to bring something new, I want to get to that type of energy, into this has to work, this has to happen, this has to go this way, this many people have to sign up for those kinds of things. And when inevitably my agenda wasn't necessarily happening, it was really challenging to kind of land in that place where it was like, well, what am I doing wrong? How do I get this right? And it really quickly flipped into stories, right? There's something wrong with me. I am not good enough. I don't deserve that. All those types of things. And, it was kind of the same in another area of my life where things are changing right now, and I really don't want them to be changing. So, it was easy to make up stories about that too, right? So I felt like it just sort of turned into one big, huge spiral. Looking at the concepts of contentment really helped to unravel a lot of that. So I just realized that trying to stop the flow of life creates friction, it creates negativity. Seeking and striving and trying to stop things from changing, it's exhausting. And I realized today, February is the shortest month of the year, but it literally felt like it was 50 days long. February was just a doozy of a month. I had days where I was in bed at 5 p.m. What I realized was that so much of what was so exhausting was that I was trying to fight against things and creating a lot of friction in my life and a lot of seeking and grasping and gripping and that type of thing, which is exhausting, right? Trying to keep things from being what they will be is very tiring. So, not to mention all those things going on in your mind. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. That stuff is painful. It's hard to move through. So when I looked at contentment itself, it really is letting things go, letting everything do what it will do, and not having to have things go a certain way, right? It's your nervous system that needs things to be a certain way. The rest of you can just take a nice deep breath and let it be what it will be. Another thing that I thought was really interesting when I was going through reflecting on, and this comes out of the book that I was using, the Yamas and Niyamas book, she was talking about agreement. And I thought our unconscious agreements, I've had some reels about this, are a really important part of understanding how we interact with who we think we are, how we interact with other people, the world around us. What do we believe about things? But I had never really thought about that concept applying to contentment. So essentially, we run up against our internal agreements when we have to or should have things go certain ways, or things should be this way, I should be this way, this should be happening. And you taking a step back and going, oh, right, because I made an unconscious agreement that's the way things had to be. So agreements, again, can really trip you up, can really get in your way. Releasing some of that, just sort of letting things be what they will be, is a really simple way to drop those agreements and make things a whole lot easier on yourself. And so that concept was another really eye-opening thing for me. I don't think the concept of agreements, as I've said before, just sort of like blows my mind. And you really realize just how much you've made decisions about what needs to be without even realizing that you've done it. Another thing that I was thinking about was that it's kind of funny that like resistance is one of the most important things when we're training our physical body. But when we're looking at our minds and our emotional body and all those types of things, resistance is actually one of the most detrimental things. The more we resist what is, the harder life is for us. Just a few reflections. And now, after spending a month with contentment, contentment to me means accepting things as they are. I can do what's in my control. The rest is not up to me. Pushing, forcing, and resisting only reinforce wanting things to be different. Wanting things to be different is the opposite of contentment. So wanting things to be different, before I carry on, I just want to say wanting things to be different isn't inherently wrong. Wanting things to be different is what moves us towards growth and change, goals, and everything else. It's how we sometimes realize that this isn't really how I want certain things to be. So there's nothing wrong with that. But when you stay in that for too long, it can really make contentment elusive. So I think it's valuable to look at that stuff and then just sort of create momentum towards it, but also allowing it to unfold the way it's going to unfold. So my goal moving forward is to do my best and be content with what comes. Now, that said, I think that really leads well into the niyama that I've chosen for March, which is tapas, which translates to self-discipline. So, it takes a lot of self-discipline to not allow yourself to strive, to just let things go and be what they will be. Self-discipline, also puts you in the arena to keep showing up even when things are hard. And I think that a lot of the times that's what happens with contentment. We shift out of contentment because it has to be this way, it has to be that way. But a lot of the times that's almost like a mind trick to keep you from just continuing to show up and show up and show up and do the work and do the hard stuff and do the boring stuff until things do actually come to fruition. So sometimes I think that seeking and striving can almost be a distraction from the difficulty of sitting in self-discipline, sitting in the fire and just allowing it to mold you and shape you. Another thing about tapas is that it invites you to let go of things that aren't serving you. And so a lot of the stuff I've mentioned is stuff that's not serving me. So I will be back at the end of March to let you know how my month with tapas goes. I'm a little intimidated. Discipline, the word discipline is always something that I struggle with consistency. So discipline always feels a little bit scary to me, but I'll do my best and I'll be back to let you know what I learned about myself and other people in the world around us through working through these foundational concepts.